All right, welcome to another podcast about everything. I'm your host, Daniel Grinnell, and I'm here joined by another comic from the Detroit scene, Justin Essenmacher.
Oh, hello, Dan. Or was I not supposed to say hello?
No,
Were you
you're
still
good.
introducing your podcast?
No, you're good. I really don't have any good introductions for my podcast.
I liked it. I thought it sounded good. You had a lot of energy, kind of, for it. Like, people are going to be excited about that, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Hi. Welcome to my podcast about everything. I'm kind of sad. And here we go. This is my guest.
Well, I'm sitting here on a Tuesday afternoon with you, so my life's going great.
Wait, first of first of all, you're welcome. You could say thank you. I brought you coffee and donuts, and the donut wasn't good enough. And you're a grown-ass man with a kid. I figured you would take any donut that I'd bring you.
I mean,
You're picky? What donut did you want? I didn't mean
I
to start
honestly
off bad.
don't even have like high-end donut taste. Like, give me like a chocolate dip. Just like
I gave you a vanilla dip. It had sprinkles on it.
Well, I don't like to mix my donuts.
What do you mean?
The vanilla dips are just like they're not as cultured as the chocolate dip, and
I feel like the vanilla dip came way before the chocolate dip.
yeah, but I mean,
It's 2020. You can eat a vanilla dip.
it's a lot of things that came before aren't as good as everything that came after it, which would be the vanilla dip at the bottom of that.
That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, it makes complete sense.
How does the chocolate dip become before the vanilla dip?
No, it doesn't. It came after, but it was better. Much like a Model T, yeah, sure, it's the first car, but I'd take just about any other car than the Model T if I was to get one.
That's true. Okay, but also I looked at the donuts and I was like, I thought I was just being nice. I didn't even want the donut.
Oh, no, it was very nice.
I'm being healthy,
It's very
kind
nice.
of. And I was like, well, I'll get a donut.
Yeah,
And
a lot of healthy decisions there.
yeah, well, I was just doing it.
How much cream and sugar did you get in your coffee?
It's just black.
It's black?
I switched to black over in the last 2 months. Okay.
Ooh. I drink it black too. I can't.
I used to drink it with a dash of cream.
A
little
dash
bit
of cream.
Like a little bit of cream. It takes like the bite out. I drink it like my dad, but my dad drinks a lot of cream. But also, I realized when I went to Tim Hortons today, I was kind of like my dad. My dad will like go hang out with his friends, and he'll bring the coffee and the donuts because he's thoughtful like that.
No, it was very nice. It was a surprise. It was the coffee's delicious.
It is
I
delicious. I'm glad you enjoy it. I figured I could make it up because I dissed you yesterday and I didn't come to your podcast.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah, to be honest, I was like, do I really want to go? I was talking to my agent and my manager, and I was like, should I do this? They're like, I don't know, Justin. Is it a smart move?
well, I'm glad your mom really helps you figure these things out.
Yeah. She was like, Justin, you need new friends. You should try to get new friends. Marcus has just been really holding me back.
It's only a matter of time before he really cuts the ankle weight and
He's about to. He really is. He's about to. I am worried about that every day. I'm worried when he's going to just be like, I'm done.
Mm.
We're going to have a falling out soon. You can
Oh,
feel
man.
it. We look at each other and we're like, oh, no, we're keeping this going. But then we look at each other like, do we really want to?
I think a good falling out could benefit careers though. Like me and Bilal were talking about that eventually we're gonna have just a terrible falling out actually, and it's just gonna be awful. And it'll be like years down the road if we both when we both make it, and they'll be trying to like reconcile us, and we'll just fight. Like they put us both on the same show, and then we're throwing like ice at each other.
I like it.
Ugh.
I had the same thought with me and Marcus
Mm.
for that side project I was telling you about. I'm like, Marcus, you know what's going to happen? We're going to finish this last episode because we're doing 5 episodes. It's a show. And I go, you know what? We're never going to release it till we become famous or make it a little bit. And then when TMZ's around, we're going to punch each other in the face, have a falling out, and then say, like, we would never liked each other. And then people will hate us even more. And then we'll get the good publicity for the side project, and we'll finally release it 20 years down the line.
Do you think there'd be like a falling out like therapy session, that there'd be like a bunch of other famous like groups that fell out, like there'd be like Opie and Anthony and then like Aerosmith or something, and then there's Justin and Marcus.
And they'd be like, who the fuck are these two guys? Why are they here? They're like, oh, they had a podcast that did almost okay on the local scene. Like, people have heard about it. No one listens to it except their 2 friends and their parents. But It did pretty good. We just had a episode released today, doing pretty good. It's got like 9 views in 8 hours, so we're doing a view over an hour.
Mm-hmm.
That's just fucking groundbreaking
A
numbers.
view an hour?
Yeah. Over a view an hour.
Over
It's
a
like
view an hour.
1.2 views an hour.
So that means like somebody thought about watching the podcast, and
They
that's where that point two came
Yeah, they
from?
accidentally clicked on it.
Is-
They were trying to
Is
go
that
down
the
to
Facebook
Gangnam Style.
newsfeed scroll? Like when you scroll by and the video starts playing just because you're going by it?
Yeah, that's kind of, and we appreciate Facebook for that. So we try to get somebody, we just say really, really stupid things and really loud, hoping it will catch somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you sit for 2 to 5 minutes on our podcast, you're bound to watch 30 minutes. It's addicting. I do it every day. Maybe it's also because I'm just full of myself, but
My favorite part of your podcast, though, really, is when Genevieve comes on and I don't have to hear you guys talk nearly as much. Like that's definitely a win for everybody, I think.
well, I'm sorry you're listening to mine and Marcus's podcast. Yeah, we tend to talk on our podcast, Dan.
Yeah, I think you should change up the format a little bit.
Just bring a guest in.
Less talking from you guys and just anybody else.
Okay. Well, Marcus has a girlfriend and she lives with him, so she's the only guest that wants to do our show.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like we actually had to beg her to do our show,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I thought we were like giving you a opportunity. She's like, no, I'm giving you guys the opportunity. Like, yeah, sometimes like you gotta get a sense of reality. You like last night I bombed on stage really hard, got depressed, got a little too high probably, and I just let the sadness out. And that's kind of, you need those failures, in life to bring you back to reality is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, I always have my best sets the night after a big bomb.
Yeah. And I'm going out to Mike Ball's show. I'm going to I think I'm getting guest sets tonight. I don't know. They just
I like how your voice cracked when you said that.
I know.
Tonight. Like, I have no idea if I'm doing any time tonight.
There's a thing where some people hit puberty at later ages. And I talked to my doctor, who is my mom, and I'm like, my voice has been cracking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having strain in my ball sack area.
Mm-hmm.
I think my balls are dropping now at 30.
Oh,
finally.
I thought it was from the rubber bands.
Yeah, it was. Yes. My pee has turned into white now. I'm saying that I do come now.
Oh.
Yeah. I used to just pee on women.
I actually...
That was so fast.
Fun fact...
This is a podcast about everything. You're going to cut that out, right?
Yeah, I'm going to edit that out and
Thanks.
definitely be in my promo. I'm going to edit that into the promo for the show.
All right. I've said worse things.
No, that actually reminds me of an old Patrice bit where he was talking on O&A where he was describing this is when gay rights was really in the news. It was shortly after Obama just made it legal, the marriage, Yeah. And he was just like, all right, it's cool. We can normalize that. And I appreciate it. But how come all sexual preference can't be normalized? He's like, why can't I wear a flag that just says I love to pee on bitches? Like, I like to pee on bitches, and I shouldn't be ashamed. I should be able to find other people that like to pee on bitches with me, and we should be able to have our own pee on bitches parade.
That's ridiculous. Because those people should not have a group, which I think they probably do.
Oh, they definitely do
on
now.
Pornhub, little get-togethers. You got to be in it. Once you get in it, you're in it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you find golden showers everywhere.
I'm scared to try certain things or even discuss them because it's just what if that's now my new thing?
Well, I can tell you this. I don't think I'm going to be into golden showers because I did, in fact, pee on my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Full-blown, pissed on my hand. Put both my hands out under my penis.
Why?
I was cutting jalapenos. And one of the Google things was, it was my hand started to burn.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, if you're cutting jalapenos, don't wash your hands. Because it apparently opens the pores. And then all the jalapeno juices get put into it.
Mm-hmm.
and it opens up, and then it turns into fire, and it gets inside your skin. You can't get it out as much as you wash it. So I was like, what do I do? And Google's like, use rubbing alcohol, use vodka, use dish soap, I used cortisone cream, and then it was like, piss on your hands. And I was like, and everybody's like, well, you could try it. You'll have a bit from it. And the sad thing is I don't have a bit, and the piss didn't work. On the burn.
I'm surprised none of the options were stop being a little bitch.
It said that under pissing on your hands. It was like it said it goes piss on your hands, and then it said that was a joke. You're a pussy. And I was like, wow, Google got me. That's what happened. I was so pissed because I went outside and I pulled my pants down to my ankles like a little kid, and then I just pissed on my hands. And pee's really hot.
Yeah.
So it really didn't help.
It's around 98 degrees.
And it felt like it was 98 degrees.
Yeah.
That was a good band.
What did it taste like?
It actually didn't taste like much. I was drinking a lot of water.
Okay. Maybe that's why it didn't work. You had too clean a urine to pee on the jalapeno juices out of your hands.
I needed a good hangover piss.
Yeah.
Where it's bright yellow, it smells.
Or maybe like a deep orange.
Yeah. When I piss out deep orange, I'm worried.
You're just like,
yeah.
Like the whole time you're peeing.
Yeah, and I've been drinking so much coffee now, it just smells like I'm brewing a pot of coffee when I pee.
Oh, man.
That's why I brought you this coffee. The funny thing is I finished a coffee just this size before I got into your house.
I have to say, Mr. Pipitone gets a lot of flack for the coffees he always brings to shows. Yeah. When I was hosting, I brought a big giant coffee with me, and I think this man might be a genius when it comes to beverages you should be using when you're at a comedy show because it felt great. I felt professional.
Yeah. You felt professional because you weren't drinking.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Yeah.
But I'm not one to get bombed at shows anyways. Like I literally usually only have like 2 beers.
Yeah, I used to. It used to be 2 beers, Dan.
Well, I used to have a binge drinking problem.
Oh. Yeah, same.
Like not an alcoholic, but when I drank, it's time to black out.
There you go. When I have the sip of beer, it's like, okay, my day's over. Like I have to have my workout in. I have to have my work done. And then it's beer time.
Yeah, I took almost a year off of drinking entirely this last year.
Isn't it weird how much happier you are? Were you happier?
Yeah. The thing is, though, I lost like all my friends for a while.
Yeah, that happens too.
Which is a bummer.
It sucks, but it also doesn't suck, but it also sucks.
Yeah.
Because then you realize, the only thing you do with your friends is drink.
Yeah. And it was like conversations I had with like a certain group of them, like leading up to it, like, dude, I'm really tired of the sit in a garage and get fucking drunk all night. Like, I want to do something else. Like, we're grown adults now. Most of us have a disposable income. Can we do anything else? Like, we can go do things now, guys.
Yeah, we honestly could. You could go have fun.
Yeah.
You could go anywhere you want. I understand, like, when kids just go out to the garage and get drunk.
Yeah.
That's me, though. I'm still a child. You know, I haven't had a good job in 5 years.
Right.
So I'm not going to have the greatest of times. I'm doing the math.
Yeah.
Like I went to Coney Island yesterday, spent $18. You can't do that, Justin. You shouldn't be.
Our Coney Island just upgraded around here, like the North End one, and their food got ridiculous, like the price for a Coney Island. I kind of miss the old shithole. Your food's probably got like salmonella and E. coli in it. Prices.
Yeah, it's like learn your place, Coney Island. Yeah. Okay, I didn't come here to spend $10 on a sandwich. I came here to spend $4.
Right.
Yeah, but the drinking, man, I calmed down on it. Marcus quit drinking. He's like 2 months strong. I did like almost a month not drinking, and then now I'm just kind of not into it.
Right.
I wish I had that mentality about weed, which I'm starting to get into. But I also hang out with Marcus, who fucking smokes like Snoop Dogg.
I stopped buying it.
That's helpful. I finished it. I was like, I'm gonna finish this, and then I don't need it.
Right.
But
the thing is, I go to shows and everybody's passing weed around. It's like, all right, but I didn't buy it because, like, if I buy a bag, I'm gonna smoke the bag nonstop and be high until that bag's gone. Like, I don't care how big the bag is. I don't care what I have to do. I'm rolling joints and packing bowls until that bag's empty. So.
So you are a comic. There you go. You figured it out, Dan.
Right.
I think the real comedy turns on when you realize, like, to stop doing it. but not really. I mean, we still do it, but it comes to almost like a calculated like degree of what to do. Like,
which is hilarious right now in the midst of COVID, the amount of people that are social distancing and they won't shake your hand, but as soon as a joint comes out, they'll put it right in their fucking mouth, no matter who's hit on it. Like, I don't think he thought it all the way through.
I don't think any of us are thinking. That's what it is. I don't think any of us are thinking. We're just like, we're sad. Give me weed. But yeah, the drinking was bad, man. When I was first starting comedy, that's what comedy was. I was excited because I was going, and then I'd end up at the bar, and then the bartender's like, "Hey, man," and you're like, "Oh shit!" Twisted my arm. Give me another. And now you're 5 beers deep, and then you got to go on your set, and then it's not fun. It's just shit show. I used to get really bad, dude. I used to.
Oh, I've heard stories.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard stories.
Have you?
But here's the thing, though. I hear stories from people that I consider to be pussies in general. So it's like what they think is bad. I'm like, eh.
Wait, what's like? Can I hear some of the? Can I hear a story?
I've heard stories about. I heard stories about the time you took Molly and went on stage, and somehow it was your best set you've ever done. And
that's gonna be edited out. That's gonna be edited. I don't do that. I've never talked about that on stage. You got to be in the moment. You got to be at that show to hear about that fucking thing. Damn, Dan, you are. You
asked me to tell you a story.
I didn't know it was going to be that story. I forgot about that one. That's okay. All right. No, that was a joke. That wasn't on that. I didn't do that. That was a joke.
Yeah. The thoughts and views.
Who told you that story?
I can't tell names like that on this.
Oh, you can't tell names?
I'll tell you after the pod.
Oh, that's getting cut. So the whole fucking thing's going to get cut.
Yeah, it's going to get cut into the promo. Like
that's bad. That's well, I'm not promoting this podcast. Wait, who told you? I'm assuming it was Bilal. Bilal was there.
No.
Marcus?
No, nobody like that. Again,
really?
This would be coming from somebody that I consider not like I like the person, but they're not like somebody I'd consider manly. I don't know.
Lewis wasn't there.
No. Lewis is such a delicious little
treat.
Stay Puft Marshmallow with hair.
Yeah. You got to tell me.
I'll tell you. I'll write it down. I'll write it down right now.
We're cutting the Molly part out, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I'm serious. Fucking of course it was. Of course it fucking was. You know, there's certain people that like just to say they remember those things and they always like to bring them up. I have a lot of those stories. Like people always bring up the really bad stories that I wish just be forgot.
See, that's the thing though. He told it as a good story.
I know.
He said it was the best set he's ever seen you done, which is weird because he's kind of advocating that you should always take Molly and go get on stage.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I think a lot of people are saying that about that set because, I mean, it was a good set. It was fun. It was It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever done. But, what you call it? I think the way people talked about it, I think it was more of like the craziest thing that someone did at that show. And then Marcus was like, yeah, you were great. And then everyone was like, yeah, you were great. And I think people just remember it being great because I somehow didn't like fucking bomb.
Right.
It was crazy. I mean, I had fun on that set.
Right.
But I don't. That was a bad day.
Did you record?
Probably.
Or is that like before you were recording everything?
I mean, I probably recorded it, voice recorded it. That night was fucking crazy. I remember it was intense. We all had a great idea to do it. I think Marcus did something, and my other friend did something, and then we got there, and it was an art show. And I looked at my friends, and I was just like, yo, dude, this is crazy. And I was going out, and I was looking at artwork, and everything was warping and shit, and it was intense. And it was like during Halloween time. Holy shit, yeah, it was like a year ago.
Okay.
And I just remember like pumpkins and decorations moving, and Shit was intense. And then I got on stage on the come down. And I'm sorry the story wasn't that good because I don't remember it.
No, it's hilarious though when people tell me certain things like
what's another one? Let's hear another fucking good one.
Well, no, I mean because from what I'm hearing from other people and they hear like who you're like been at shows with or who you're talking to in the circle, and like there's always someone to chime in like, oh, that guy, you know what I mean? But a lot of the things they talk about are things I also do. They're like what did they say? You never know what Justin you're getting is a common phrase.
Fuck you.
Right.
Whoever's saying that, fuck you.
Which I'm just like, well, give me an example. Like, well, there's so many owners or venues where he goes on stage and he just rips the owners and the venues apart. You're not supposed to do that. And
fuck you again.
I think that's hilarious. But I also have the same issue like Bilal always yells at me for when we're on the road together is stop making fun of the fucking owner and the venue. But they're so make funnable.
Yeah, I get what he's saying there. I do get it.
I get it too.
There's certain places that I do it at where it's like acceptable. I mean, we're at a dive bar and no one's talking about how dirty it is. Come on. I get it. You shouldn't burn the bridge, but I'm also like, oh, damn, I can't come to Dooley's anymore.
Or that place we were at last Wednesday where was the nastiest bathroom I had seen in a very
the pool
long
hall?
time. Yeah.
The fucking
like with the $9.99 steaks at a dirty bar. Oh, I'm sure this is not going to get me sick.
Which I thought places were supposed to be more clean during COVID, but
did you see the stall where somebody had taken a shit, wiped their ass, didn't flush because it got clogged, and then somebody went in there like an animal and pissed and shit on top of the piss and shit?
You really got to go if you do that.
Like, I had to go. I held it till I got home.
Yeah, and you know what makes me upset is that when people talk about me in that way, I'm not affecting you.
Right.
I'm affecting myself. So let me deal with the repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're not going to book me because I might make fun of something? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were doing comedy.
Right. Oh, that's how I feel about it, too. And, but I get, like Bilal's point was we're on the road together. People know we're here together. So if you piss somebody off to the point to where they don't want you to come back, I'm now part of that because we came here together.
Well,
which is a fair point.
That's a fair point, but it's also the way the way you do it though. If you do it where it's just aggressive and angry and you're just but if it's playful and it's funny, the owner probably knows that they don't have the cleanest bathrooms. The owner probably knows that this $9.99 steak costs 50 cents at Gordon Food Service or whatever
and they
terrible.
haven't cleaned their broiler probably since they opened.
That makes me sick thinking about it. I almost bought that steak too.
Yeah.
It looks so good. But there's a certain playful way. I also have seen my mentors come into a place. They've done it at my shows. They've torn my own show apart. And I'm the one who booked them. And the owner's sitting there. The owner and me are laughing that they're making fun of my whole setup and the place that we're at. Because they're a comedian.
Which I think is the appropriate response if it's actually funny what they're saying.
That's just what I keep telling like certain people. I'm like, I don't know how you can't talk about something like if there's a fucking goat in the room. How are you not talking about the fucking goat in the room? Everybody's just like, well, today I did this and this. This is my joke and this is my other joke. And they're like, there's a fucking goat in the room. Can you talk about it? You're like, no, that's the pet goat. And you're not supposed to make fun of the pet goat because that might be offensive to the goat and the owner that owns the goat. Fuck you and the goat and the fucking owner of the goat. There's a goat in the bar. Let's talk about it.
Well, because I think the most recent example I had was when me and Bilal were out of town, and it was our first time. We went to a comedy club, and it was our first time there. And we get there early, and there's nothing but comics there. There's probably 25 comics in the room, and there's this one annoying guy with like looks like he has like a tarantula on his head. Like it's not even good braids or anything. All right. And he's talking so confidently and so loud. And I'm just sitting there. And there's people we've met like there that know us from like other times we traveled to the same area. And I just like look and like I just start destroying the kid. And like the whole room's fucking laughing. And I just didn't let up on the guy. Well, then the owner comes out and he has the most I don't know if it was Greek or if it was Middle Eastern accent. It was like they'd met in the Mediterranean and made a new person. And he just comes out and he's just like, you guys come in here with your fuck and your shit. all these jokes. You need to be clean like Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey came through these halls and he was clean to go all the way to New York. You must be clean to go to New York. What the fuck? Shit, clean sets only. And I was just like, I don't like being yelled at as a 30-year-old fucking man to begin with. And then 2, I don't like to be yelled at when I'm doing solid material making fun of this guy. So then, of course, Bilal looks at me because he's like, oh, I don't do clean sets ever. So I was like, all right, I got to do my first clean set. And then 2, he knows that every time somebody goes at me, I like to go at them like 10 times harder. So he's expecting me to just go up there and just like blow the fucking like the place up. But I went up there, I was like, okay. Ended up having the best set I've ever had, having to work clean, forced to work clean. But I opened up with making fun of how ridiculous it is to yell and swear at people while you're telling them not to swear.
Yeah.
And like it got the whole crowd on my side because everybody was there when it happened, and then it was just a fun set for the rest of the time. And I actually went pretty soft at him because, you know, he's supposedly, I didn't know this at the time, but I guess he's really connected with the Shores out in LA. He's been doing comedy clubs for 30 years. But I don't know. Like Bilal says, it's a super risk when you go at the owners of the venue, and he's correct. But every time I've done it out of town, it's worked in my advantage. Like there was a host there that's a pretty well-known comic in that area that he fucked up my name when we were down there when he was bringing me on stage. And I'm nobody, sure, but then like he just kind of like blew it off in the correction and everything. So I was like, oh, okay, fuck this guy. So I went at him hard in the beginning of my set to open up with the room, and I got him laughing. So now when I go down there, whenever I see him, it's like, hey, hit me up. You know, I know every room down here. I'm connected with a lot of these like legit headliners and everything. So it's like I made a contact through having the balls to actually go at the guy. So I think it's definitely like a balanced game. I don't, you know more about it than I would, but that's just how I view it.
I don't know anything about comedy. Let's fucking be honest, Dan. Come on. I have come to the conclusion this isn't me trying to complain. I just think I'm Detroit's bastard child of comedy. I think that's what it is. I think that I am honestly the bastard child. Like, you either love me or you hate me. It's more fake love than anything. I know it. People know who I am, and I'm not just fucking tooting my own horn.
Right.
But you're not going to see me on a show, baby. You're going to see me at an open mic. Yeah, that was just a sad note. But I think that's what it is, man. And I just, like, I was talking to Marcus yesterday in the car, and I'm like, I need to start getting booked. I need to do this. And he's like, well, dude, you got to come up with 5 minutes that you do consistently with no crowd work and that. And I'm like, but, dude, I just can't control my mood. Like, I'm a person that likes to talk about in the moment shit. Mm-hmm. And if I'm sad, I'm going to be sad. If I'm angry, I'm going to be angry. If I'm happy, I'm going to be happy. But he's like, no, man, you can't just be a wild card. And I'm like, well, that's fucking boring.
Right.
And I hate being bored. And that's why open mics to me, I'm just so fucking bored. Especially when you're not drinking at them. That's the worst thing about open mics. And that's why you get coffee. Because you're like, I'll at least have something to drink. Mm. It's late. I don't want to drink a beer. Because that's just not good things to have. I don't want to get liquor. So you're just sitting around for 2 to 3 hours listening to the same jokes you hear every fucking night. That's boring as fuck. Mm-hmm. And then I'm up there, they're like, well, you got to do your 5 jokes that you know are good and work on that set. And I'm like, well, this is fucking boring.
Well, that's what I struggle with is I hate, like, and it sounds awful to say, but I hate repetition like that to where it's just go do the exact same jokes you just did, you know, last week when you were here to the exact same people that were here. And it's like how, and especially right now because there's crowds coming in and out of any of these mics because it's basically all comics.
Yeah, and the people that are coming to the shows are just crazy people getting drunk or doing drugs. And I've just been like, since I've been doing well till last night. I was having I was doing pretty consistently well. And but I'm just doing crazy crowd work because no one gives a fuck about jokes right now. Right. So you're just working that muscle and just doing crowd work because if you didn't notice, everybody that's selling jokes, no one gives a fuck about the jokes. Right. So you have to talk about this drunk guy or this cokehead or this stupid girl or this stupid guy. And I'm having fun, but it's also I'm sitting there like Marcus is like, well, no one's booking you because of that. I'm like, no, I don't think anyone's booking me because no one really gives a fuck about me or something like that. That everybody knows who I am. I walk in with, oh, hey. I'm like, okay, so we know each other. You run a show. You're going to book the same lineup? Okay, go ahead. That's fine. So I just don't give a fuck anymore.
Right.
And I'm only not even 6 years in. But I'm just like, okay, if you like me, you like me. And apparently the people that I'm like close with and I hang out with and I talk to, I enjoy. And I'm fine with it. I've accepted it. Kind of. Not really. I'm still sour about it. But I'm like, okay, I guess. And that's why I moved to L.A. I was like, fuck it. Okay. I don't have to be part of your shows. I'm fine. I'll be okay. You guys like that kind of comedy. I'm gonna go do this.
I think you do better in New York, honestly, than LA.
Maybe. But I was loved in LA. Not love. I mean, I got more love in LA when I was in the short time I was there than I do in fucking Detroit, where I would started.
Well, I think that's kind of part of it though, is because when you're in your home scene, basically, they're gonna remember Justin year one, no matter how fucking much you progress. So going to another scene, even if it's just like going to Cleveland or Chicago or something to do some shows, they don't know what to expect. Like, oh my God, this guy's fucking amazing. We've never heard this or seen this before. So it's different, like in that way. Which is why like relocation is really important and
because I got all the bad shit out. I think all the learning shit that I needed to get really out. And now I'm taking the more professional look at it when I was out in LA and learn. I mean, I'm still always learning. But yeah, I mean, people that know me, they're always bringing up old shit. They're not watching me. I'm always out. I'm always working and grinding. But people are always like, yeah, that Red Lobster shit. And I'm like, dude, I haven't talked about this shit in 3 years.
Right.
They're talking about shit that I haven't done in 3-4 years. And I'm like, that's not me.
Is that like the material that like if you were to watch now, like you do, like if you had an old video of that joke, you just be like, oh.
I do that now with my stuff. Like I still like don't. It's hard for me to watch it. I mean, I watch it more now because I'm better, but I would still do those old jokes. Like if I did old jokes, I would just do it better now. I think it would come out differently.
Right.
But it's funny, because people just like. I think people think I'm still Justin from 5 years ago, and they haven't given me like the new chance.
But see, that's the thing, though. That's why relocation and branching out is so important, because they're not going to give you that new chance until they don't see you for a long time.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing too. Is like I went out to LA and people are like, man, you're pretty good. What's your name? All this, and then I got more friends. People respected me more.
Yeah.
They didn't even know, but they respected me.
Right.
And that's the funny thing that I've always found out with Detroit comedy is like, I'm probably going to get even more hate for this, but it's just like, I've always respected like the people. I always have respect for people. You have to have respect for people if you don't know the person. And I think that's what people don't have towards me. I don't think people respect me. That's sad to say, but I just think like, especially like people don't respect me and they talk shit to my face or behind my back without even knowing me. And I've never said one thing to those people, but somehow they all just think they can shit on me.
Right.
But I've never said anything to them, but they all shit on me and they think it's funny. They're like, oh, fucking Justin, write a joke. And it's like, go to a fucking different mic. Do something.
Yeah. It's the same people that have been going to the same 3 mics for 3 years.
Yeah. And you know what? and that's the funny thing is like, I think maybe, I don't know if people are maybe butthurt that I'm not hanging out at their little clubs or little shows that don't matter, but it's because I'm out doing actual things. I'm working on myself. Like, where you been? I've been fucking working.
See, and that's what's crazy too, because even though I'm so young in my career, I figured that out before I even started doing mics.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
You don't get sucked into the bullshit. And that's the hardest thing with it is there's so much bullshit that you have to go through and like be like, oh, is that like a good thing I should hang out with? Or is that a bad thing? And it's like most of the time it's just a bad thing. It's bullshit. It's like the smoke and mirrors and you're like, it's like Detroit has its own little Hollywood thing and people are putting up this image of we're who you should hang out with.
Yeah.
And it's once those people, like those are the people that are like, I'm important.
They're not going to go anywhere though. They're never going to go anywhere further.
Well, that's the people that are crying out. They're like, we're important. Those are that's all they're saying is we're important. We're important. We're important. We're important. But you're like, well, what do you do? And then they tell you what you do, and you're like, well, that's not that important.
Right.
And the funny thing is, and that's why the people that I hang out with and I get along with are the people doing bigger things. And it's not like name dropping. It's just like when you start doing work and you start getting respected by the respected people,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. I'm doing fine. I'll be okay without this little show that doesn't really matter. Those people, like the things that I'm not even part of, like, are just people that just don't like me. They aren't gonna like me in anyway. Like, and I don't care. I don't care to give my energy to that shit because I can spend my energy on something that's useful.
Well, and that's the thing too, is I'm not a person that's going to pretend to like somebody. That's actually one of the biggest things I struggle with in life, which is going to make it really hard for me in this business eventually, probably. But at the same time, I can't pretend to like you. I can't pretend to enjoy being in your presence. Like, I can't, pretend to, like, that I'm enjoying what you're saying to me. I just want to strangle you. Like, I just want to slap you up and say, but it's really like, basically you just snap eventually, and then you go, and then you're an asshole. But it's like, hey, this person's a fucking idiot. Like, why should I have to be nice to this fucking idiot? Why?
I've seen you do it. I don't even like standing next to you because you have that energy so much. And I like hanging out with you. But then when somebody that we both don't like, or you just don't like, but I'm trying to be a nice guy, and so I just don't say nothing. But you're sitting there and you're being so standoffish, and you can just feel the energy because that person feels you hating them.
Good. Walk away.
But they don't walk away. They just sit there because they're like, for some reason, they want to talk to me because I haven't been a dick to them yet.
Yeah.
And I'm too much of a sweetheart to be like,
oh, really? It's one thing I hear about Justin Essenmacher. What a sweetheart that Justin is. He never does anything mean at all or say anything off color.
No, I'm too nice. I'm too nice because I don't want to burn the bridges, and that's what happens to me. That's what happened to me. I let people shit on me because, and that's what's gonna happen is eventually something's gonna snap because that's what happens at all my jobs. I've always snapped and get fired because I've let people shit on me for too long, and that's what's gonna happen.
And see, all right, that's the difference.
So I just stick away from those people so I don't blow up on them.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I don't need to burn the bridge. I want to burn the bridge, but I don't need it. So I just stay away from it.
Right.
But for some reason, these people still want to talk shit to me, and I don't even see them. My name's always in their fucking mouths, which is a good thing because obviously, you know, people know, like, they keep seeing me. Like, you want to be hated, I guess. It's better than not being talked about, right?
I mean, when they're talking about you and they're always talking about how they hate you, anybody that's intelligent can see that, oh, they're jealous. Like, it's a jealousy thing. Like, they don't like, and that's a legitimate thing even outside of comedy. That's just in general.
Yeah.
You know? So when they see you go on stage and do no prepared material but still murder a room for fucking 20 minutes, and they can't get a laugh with their prepared material, they're gonna fucking hate you. They're gonna say crowd work's easy, which it's not. They're gonna say you can't write, that's why you do crowd work, which isn't true. Go up there and fucking do crowd work with no skills at doing crowd work. Go up there and talk to people that don't even want to hear you right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fucking skill, and it's a very useful tool to have.
Thank you.
Especially in these rooms.
Yes. And that's one of the really thing that I dislike about, like, getting shit on for crowd work is that's one skill that I was wanting to work on, and becoming comfortable on stage. That's what helps with crowd work, is being comfortable on stage. And it was going on stage telling my terrible jokes and learning how to tell jokes. And then it's like, well, you got to become more yourself on stage. And then you got to become, like, you know, it's all a thing. And now that I've become better at it, I'm getting hated at what I've been wanting to work on and become good at. And now I do it well. And then they're like, well, you can't do a joke. And it's like, they were all laughing.
Right.
So I must have done something right. Sorry I didn't tell my jokes that I had nothing new to work on, but I did just do 20 new minutes.
Right.
That did okay for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
There might have been some down periods, but I think I did well for 15. But I still suck at comedy. So,
well, I personally don't understand why crowd work gets such a bad rap with a lot of people.
I think, yeah.
Because my favorite special, well, not my favorite, but one of my favorite specials is Elephant in the Room, and he opens up with 15 minutes of fucking crowd work.
Yeah.
Which is insane to do on a fucking special one because it could go badly very quickly, and then you lose them for the whole time. But if you can disarm a crowd at the beginning of a fucking set and get them intrigued, you can then just transition into material, and it's all going to fucking hit way harder because you have their attention.
Exactly. That's my big thing that I found out too. It's like I go to these open mics and if I want to tell new jokes, you got to suck the people in because no one's listening to you.
Right.
No one's listening at an open mic. So it's like you got to draw them in. So you got to be something funny. So hopefully your opening joke is great, or you can say something to draw them in. Now, if you have them, you got your attention, and now you can tell a new joke. But if you don't if you just go up there and you start the jokes that no one gives a fuck about, they're not going to listen to any of your new shit or your old shit or anything at all.
Right.
So you got to suck them in. And that's why one of my favorite specials was like the Andrew Schultz one.
Yes.
His 30-minute crowd work special.
Yes.
That's a great... That special is almost better than like any of the new stuff coming out, and it's not written.
Right.
I think there's something to crowd work compared to written material. I like it more.
I think it makes it so you have to have certain skills to be good at crowd work. You have to be honestly, crowd work is as close to it as you come to doing improv while doing stand up because everything's based off of reactions and you have no idea where it's going to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like last night I did a joke and I got a response I'd never fucking heard while I was doing the joke where she said she would eat the child and I was just what? Like, you know what I mean? So then I had to go like down a new avenue I've never been down before because I never expected that would ever be like an answer to that fucking joke.
Yeah, sometimes you accidentally ask the wrong person in the crowd and they have some creepy, weird answer. And you're just like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And why? And they just ruined like the whole thing.
I had to then talk about how fucked up of an answer it is and then just bail out of the joke because I'm just like
and that happens, and that's the crazy thing about crowd work because you never know what you're gonna get. So, and that's where the skills come in. Are you gonna let it bomb or are you gonna run with it? But apparently to everybody else, crowd work isn't a skill, and I just suck at comedy. So everybody, I quit. I'm gonna quit. I'm going to write jokes from now on. And that's the thing is, I write my jokes to feel nonchalant, like it's not wrote. That's how, in my mind, that's how comedy should be. I don't want to be there to be like, okay, here's a setup. All right, here comes the punchline, and it hits. Like you can see it. And that's why like I like the comedy where it feels like it's in the moment.
Right. And
that's why where crowd work just it just feels more natural. I like it. You want it to feel natural, and that's the way I write my set. All my stuff is about me. It's wrote out, but people just don't think I write. I have notes, notes and notes and notes of written things that just happened. And I think what it is I think people might be uncomfortable with themselves to talk about themselves on stage. So all they want to do is write jokes. And that's why they're so detached from the jokes that they're saying, because they don't even like the jokes that they're saying. When you don't like what you're saying, everybody can see it and feel it. So it's like, why don't you do something that you like, something that hits home? And that's why I don't take jokes from people. Like when someone's like, you should say this, I'm like, that doesn't go with it because it's not the truth. So when you see my stuff on stage, it's basically the truth, exaggerated truth. It hits home. So I have emotions attached to it. So it's not just some fucking lame wrote out popsicle stick joke.
Oh yeah, for sure. Which is why I stopped going to I was going to like some writing sessions with a few of the local people and
I don't do that. So stop asking me, please. Anybody out there, stop asking me to write with you. I'm sorry. I love you, but I'm not going to come to your house to go listen to terrible jokes.
Right. But
I'm sorry.
No, and I completely agree, but the reason I stopped doing it was just they're not at all like I am when it comes to how I want my joke to go, the brand. I'm like, it's weird to say brand, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, it's also like they try to give you things to your joke, and you're like, I don't want to listen to you.
Yeah, it's just like I would never say that ever because I think that sounds really hacky. It sounds trashy, and it's nothing like I would ever come out of my mouth. Like why that's a terrible tag. And like after a couple of them, I'm just like, yeah, I'm just not gonna do this anymore with this group at least. Like I'm not getting anything out of this. And then it was also happening to where they were getting a shit ton of good tags for their joke from me or the other person in the group, and they were really the only one benefiting from this. Like, we were not benefiting at all from any of these meetings. Just one person was. So then it was just like, why am I doing this, really? I might as well just be keeping these and just writing my own shit instead of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I mean, the writing session's good from the different angles of thought processes because sometimes you don't think of a joke that way.
But it can ruin a person for you. Like,
yeah.
It's done that where I'm just like, oh, you thought I should have gone there with that joke.
This is what you think of me? This is what you think of me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like doing
I can't respect anything you say ever again after.
And also, like, the jokes only happen, like, only time I ever really write is when I'm at Marcus and Jenny's. Mm-hmm. Like, if I write with people. Because, like, Jenny likes to write, Marcus's girlfriend, which, it's cool. Like, I don't know if they write together, but they help each other out, They come up with actual bits. Mm. I'm just a person who's just going through life, and if something happens, I write it down, my thoughts. And they're... Obviously, you can tell, like, all my jokes are the Justin wrote because they're a little special. There's a little special thing in my jokes, and I think only my brain could come up with some of the things that I say. Mm-hmm. Like, but also the funny thing is with writing sessions, like I talked to Marcus yesterday. We were watching Marcus's set yesterday. I was hanging out with him, and I tried to give him a little bit of feedback. He hates my feedback. I hate his feedback.
Right.
And it's funny because we're like partners in a thing, and we both hate each other's feedback. He just hates mine because I'm right. I'm like, Marcus, I'm right. And he doesn't like when I'm right. And I just try to give him a couple feedback. I don't ever try to fix his jokes. But yesterday we were watching his tape, and I'm like, all right, Marcus, you see right there? It was the same thing about the jokes of not feeling it. Mm. I watched his face, and I'm like, Marcus, look at your face. You're not into it. He's like, I mean, I am. I'm like, no, you're not. I can see it. I can feel it. You hate this fucking joke. Mm-hmm. But it's a good joke, so he says it. I'm sorry, Marcus, if I'm putting you on blast. But it's like the same thing. It's like, if you're not feeling it, what the... I don't like saying certain jokes, especially like my weed thing. I'm like, I'm over it. But also, it's like it's a good suck-in thing. Apparently, everybody loves... Most people like weed. It works better in certain crowds than other crowds. In white crowds, people are like, I don't know if I should say I like weed. Everybody likes weed.
Right.
Who doesn't like weed? But sometimes when you're not into it, man, the crowd's not. If you're not into it, there's no. How are you gonna? Why is the crowd? Why should the crowd be into something? Mm. And that's the biggest thing with comedy. Like, you can see it at every open mic. Everybody's miserable. Mm. The crowd's miserable, and then a comic goes up there, and they're like, I don't know why this crowd doesn't like my stuff. Because you're also miserable. You're not having any fun. And that's why when people like go to these shitty shows, and they're like, man, this isn't made for comedy. It's like, it's not, but we're here. Make the best of it. And that's why we went to the $9.99 show. Everybody was miserable. I had a fun time. I mean, some of it was... I mean, on stage, I had a decent time. And I think the crowd had a fun time. But then the next person goes up, and then they're sad. And then the crowd's sad. They're like, I don't know why the crowd's sad. Well, did you ever think because you were sad? Mm. If you're crying on stage and no one's laughing at you, it's because you're crying on stage.
Yeah.
And they're just worried about you. They're like, is he okay? Physically okay?
Right.
Like, maybe something is wrong with him. So, I mean, that's my point on that. I don't know.
No, I mean, and you're exactly right. And it was actually it's a point that like the Saturday show we were at in Detroit a couple weeks ago, the benefit show,
the funeral.
Yeah, the funeral benefit show.
Oh, yeah, that's just not a good situation.
Yeah, and you said afterwards, like, oh, you looked like you really enjoyed yourself. And as stupid as, like, as simple as a thought that is, it's like, oh shit, like, yeah, like I hated being there. I hated everything going on stage. Like, maybe if I'd had more time, I'd have felt better because in the last like 2.5 minutes, like the crowd finally seemed to relax a little bit, and then I was relaxing. Yeah. But it was like I've only got 2.5 minutes left. These went fine, but the first 7 minutes, I wanted to shoot myself in the head just for even walking up here.
Exactly. Yeah, because you had that preconceived notion of like how bad it's gonna be.
Right.
I did that last night. That happened last night, and I didn't turn it on. I let it consume me, and it got more negative and deeper. And it was all because, and I can't blame it on these people, but there was a table of like 3 guys up front, and I saw their faces, and they didn't want to be there. And then I was like, I don't want to be here. And then like my first joke, and I was like, I felt like I was getting judged. It felt like it was like the cool kids, and I was like, but I'm the cool kid. And then it just went bad. And yeah, sometimes sometimes I have some good thoughts about comedy. I think most people don't think I know what the fuck I'm doing.
They're idiots.
I don't know what it is. I really think I honestly think that's what it is. I think I have a I've been doing it consistently for 6 years. And this isn't like bragging. It's just like, but people don't like to hear what I have to say. It's weird. But then the people that hang out with, they like to hear what I have to say, and then they enjoy me, and they're like, hey, man, you're pretty good at comedy. But all these other people that don't see me working, they're like, yeah, he doesn't do nothing.
It's the people that can't do it. It's the people that can't do it.
I don't know. It's
like, all right, you take like some people from that woke crowd. We won't mention any names or anything. And you throw them in a room with like 4 bikers in there. They're going to fucking tell them they're fucking idiots and Trump 2020. They won't know how to react. Because all their comebacks are going to be woke dumb shit, and it's not even going to be funny.
Yeah.
Like they don't know how to like pivot. Like they don't know how to make somebody who hates them laugh, which is a skill in itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's the worst thing with comedy, in my mind, is to be coddled. If you're coddled, to give up, because if you're not. I'm not saying that you have to have a shitty life. I'm not saying that you need to live in a shithole apartment, a shithole house, anything like that. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying you need to do where time is available anywhere. And you need to have all experiences from all sorts of crowds. Because if you have one type of crowd, and if that's the biggest fucking thing that pisses me off, is when people are like, well, the crowd needs to be just right. The environment, the part that I'm at needs to be just right. How I'm introduced needs to be just right. The music needs to be just right. The sound needs to be just right. And it's like, are you not funny?
Right, exactly.
And I'm not saying like, I'm not saying I'm the most funny person in the world, but I've been to some of the shittiest rooms that anybody could have done comedy. I just did a bachelorette party. Like, that, it's not made for comedy. But you say yes to it because you're a comic and you're like, I'm going to get paid. And you go do it. For 12 women in a basement and they're sitting on a couch 10 feet from you. That's just like the people that are like outside of the bar and they're like, just tell me a joke. That's what it felt like. You don't want to do it, but you do it.
Right.
And those are that. And like, I'm so happy that I started comedy the way I started comedy. And I wasn't with my group of friends who just think I'm funny, and then I go tell bad jokes, and then they laugh at my bad jokes because I'm their friend.
Well, you can't build like a skill set if the base is shit. And if the base of your fucking skill set is I have to have everything perfect for me to do even remotely okay.
Yeah.
Then the fucking skill set you built is useless. It's completely fucking useless. So you need people like yourself, like a lot of the other people we associate with on like the Monday night circles, basically, that are going to tell you had a shitty set, your jokes suck, you need to work on it, that just kind of rip you down so you can be like, all right, I need to get back in the lab and I need to fucking work on this shit.
Exactly. You do need that. And I've been told that stuff by some of the best in Michigan or, in the country, like national headliners telling me that I suck. I've embarrassed myself in front of national legendary comics, not on purpose, but because I wasn't ready or I ate a bag of dicks that day. You know how bad I did at Punchline. I performed with Michael Courtier, who won Star Search a long time ago, famous comic of Def Jam, no national. Anyway, I went up, ate a bag of dicks. Terrible. I went up the next day and I went up to him. I was like, hey, man, can I come redeem myself? And he was like, no.
Right.
And you just feel like a sack of shit. So you just got to get better so you can hang with the best in the game.
If that feeling's not going to motivate you, you shouldn't be doing comedy.
Yeah. He looked at me and he goes, and you know what? The next day I went. So instead of going to like another open mic, I went to that place because I wanted to perform. But he's like, no. And then 10, 20 minutes later, he came, tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, hey, let me talk to you. And then he brought me outside. I didn't ask to talk to him. Mm-hmm. And he's like, let me talk to you. And he talked to me for like 30 minutes, gave me this whole speech, and mentored me and gave me like words of wisdom that to live by. And, and it came down to like, basically stop wasting my time. He's like, if you're not going to bring your A game every night, you might never get an opportunity like this again.
Right.
So what the fuck are you doing?
The one time like you absolutely needed to be completely on, you weren't prepared and
exactly.
You had a bad set.
I mean, not saying like it could have happened, but say I destroyed. I could have done more shows with him. I could have went up the next night.
That could have been like the moment.
Yeah, but I could have went up the next night and did another set again. But he didn't want me to go up because I ate so much dick. Mm. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like I understand him saying no to me because I wasn't good. But that's the thing. If you're coddled and everybody says your jokes are funny and they're not going to tell you that they're not, you're just going to keep writing shitty jokes. And you're like, well, I wrote a punchline, and it's not funny, but I can say it in front of my friends because they're going to laugh at me.
Right.
Now go do that set in front of people that don't know you.
Right. Which is why I had such the benefit of hitting the road with Bilal and going 4 or 5 hours away to do shows where absolutely nobody knows either of us.
Yeah.
And when it works, it's like, Jesus Christ. All right, cool. All right. Maybe I am funny. Maybe this isn't bad material. Like I've got people that don't know me that have no bias towards me to like me or hate me, and they're laughing. This shit works. I'm good. Now I need to focus on making this better. It's not perfect yet.
Yeah.
But it's good feedback. And people don't understand why, like, at this stage in my career am I going so far already. But it's like I've already made connections all over the fucking place, and I'm very, very new at this fucking game. And I'm getting really good fucking, like, I'm crushing rooms at the same time. Like, I'm batting like 7,500, like 75%. I'm doing good. You know what I mean? I've eaten dicks on the road. Everybody does, but it's gone good where it needed to go good. And I think another thing is when you're performing in front of people you've never seen before, that nervousness kicks up a gear, and that pressure before you go on stage hits up, and it's like that fight or flight right before you go on stage. If you don't have that, you're gonna have a bad set.
Yeah.
And it's like that feeling's almost double when I'm doing shows with completely nobody I fucking met before. And I always have my best sets under those circumstances. So I mean, there's definitely a lot to that.
I agree. I've really I started listening to a couple books about it, and then like just also meditating and like trying to find my inner self, like trying to grow.
Yeah.
It's the ego that fucks with comedians or like any kind of art form. It's my ego that fucks up my set, because when I go into these open mics and I see people doing bad, and every time I go, oh, I'm gonna fucking crush it, I'll eat the biggest bag of dicks, because you're too confident and you're not being present to the situation. So it's like you set yourself up for failure. But if you go cautious and you're like, okay, just make sure you're doing the right things and not having this fucking ego like, oh, I don't need to worry. Everything that I say is great.
And you can have confidence, but you can't ooze the confidence, because the audience is going to pick up like, oh, this guy thinks he's fucking great.
Yeah.
Let's see what you got. Like it's gonna change their appearance of you if you let it ooze out into your aura or whatever the fuck you want to say.
Yeah, I've just noticed like things where I go with it more cautious, and I'm like, I'm gonna bomb. Every time I think I'm gonna bomb, I do the best. But every time I feel a little good about myself, it's terrible. It's terrible. And that's the thing. I've done it in my whole life. I've put in the work, and every time I get an opportunity, I fuck up because of the pressure, which I don't know why, because I always have. I have the skill, but every time I get that opportunity, I fuck up, and it's my ego, I think, or something. Like I grew up bowling, and every time I go to a tournament, eat a bag of dicks.
Right.
Go to practice, bowl like a fucking champ. Go when the lights are on, just fuck up. Comedy. I put the work in. I get an opportunity to sold out show, and I mean, I come with my A game. I come prepared. But the thing is, I come more prepared or something, and then I overthink it.
Mm-hmm.
I overthink things. And that's not a good thing. So there was a point to that. The ego, I don't know what I was saying.
I think it got through, but let's pivot for a section because we've been talking for almost an hour straight on just comedy.
Yeah, that's not fun. We should just edit that out.
No
one wants to listen to comedy.
Yeah, it's only two comedians on a podcast.
I've listened to comedian podcast. I mean, I have one, and it's like, who the fuck wants to listen to open mics? On open mics, you know what I mean? I'm kidding, but seriously, I don't know. Do people like to listen to comedy? Talk about it?
I mean, I like to hear it in general. Because honestly, I don't read audiobooks. I'm not going to take a certain place's class and spend $200.
I know people have done that, Marcus.
Especially when there's like, you can just type in Bill Burr comedy advice, and there's hours and hours and hours of, in my opinion, one of the greatest comics of all time, telling you tips from being a beginner to being a middle to being a fucking headliner. And it's all solid advice for free on the internet from somebody I respect the shit out of.
Yeah. And not just some open micer teaching a class to you.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing is, and you know what? Bill Burr probably says everything that all my mentors say to me too. And
well, see, he's one of the, all right, what's really like interesting to me about him is he doesn't use a writing team. He doesn't write. He doesn't collab with other comics. Like Chris Rock always had a team of writers with him.
Really?
And built the special like that. They had people write. Like he obviously writ as well. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying Chris Rock didn't write. But he had a team of writers with him, and they built his set. Bill Burr never did any of that. What he did, he started in Boston with Patrice, went to New York with Patrice, then he went to L.A., failed, came back to New York, said fuck it, and then just started doing nothing but black rooms for years and came up through that rank. And that's when he said he turned the corner when he stopped giving a fuck and just started going on stage doing whatever the fuck he wanted.
Sounds like somebody I know.
So it's just like... That's a comic right there. That's a true, and that's why he's so respected in the community. Is he is himself. And that's the thing too. You have to know everything about yourself if you really want to be a successful comic, and you got to be comfortable with yourself, the good and the bad, and then go on stage with it. And once you can do that, one, there's nothing people can ever attack you with. Like there's nothing they can do to hurt your feelings because you already know and you're comfortable with all these issues.
Yeah.
And then two, it helps you understand people better in general.
Yes.
Which is. I mean, that's what this is about. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Getting reactions and learning how to get reactions out of people.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is that people, when people don't know you and they just hear what you say on stage, they really think you might just be saying, like, you don't understand it. But when you do actually understand it. And I did the same thing Bill Burr did. I stayed in black rooms for, I was a regular in a black comedy club for almost 2 years. I was going up strong for like a year, but I put in the time for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I just put the work in. All I did was show up. That's all you have to do, man.
Yeah.
Show up. But also listen. Listen to what people who have been doing it for fucking 15 more years than you, 20 more years than you.
Yeah, you have to listen to the right people who
that
have been doing
too.
It that long.
Listen, there's a lot of bullshit that you do here, but if you like that comedian, you respect that comedian, and they've been doing it for a long time, they probably know a little bit more than you. Mm-hmm. So fucking listen.
Well, that's why there's certain people like, all right, so like, you know, there's the certain group I fell in with early, which has 2 veteran comics attached to it, and then one,
who?
Like Bobo and shit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like I respect the shit out of Bobo.
Yeah.
And the thing I really respected about Bobo was right after my first set.
He told you suck dick.
No, he's like, that was your first set, and he pulled me aside and just coached me up a bit. And then after almost every set I did, he's just like, you're way ahead of where you're supposed to be. Like and this is what you need to focus and work on. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to focus on. Stop telling people you're fucking new, for one. Lie.
See, now that one I wouldn't do.
I'm not gonna. He's like lie. Don't, like, when they ask you, just say, oh, I've been doing it, you know, nothing for a while, nothing crazy, and then whatever time frame they say, just like, oh yeah, like you know what I mean.
Always, that's a big thing too. Always take those opportunities.
Yeah,
take whatever opportunity you can
right.
get. It'd be stupid to turn down anything, and that's because you know what's gonna happen. If you fail, you fail. But that's how you learn.
Right.
Can you do 20 minutes? Yeah.
Right.
Can you not do how many minutes do you have? 3. Fucking do 20. If you can't do 20, you know what? You're gonna feel like the biggest idiot. You're gonna feel what it's like to feel embarrassed for another 17 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
How do you not ever want to feel again? Like that.
Right.
So, but now you got 20 minutes and you know what it feels like, the time. And when you don't have any jokes for 20 minutes and you don't know what you're doing, it feels like an hour to 2 hours, and everybody's looking at you like, who are you?
Right.
And you're like, no, I swear I've done this at least 3 times. And that's what I was doing, and that's what you're doing, is taking whatever opportunity you can get.
Right.
I mean, I have to do that because no one books me, but it's a learning experience, and I think he's right with that. Taking whatever you can get.
Yeah, and I've just run with it. Like, there's other people in that group that said I was stupid for going out of town, not very long in a comedy. And I was just like, okay, but I've had my best shows have been out of town.
Yeah.
Like, and now I have all these connections in places they don't even have access to, because I just said fuck it, just because I went and did it, and they won't do it. You know what I mean?
But I mean, that's good that you have connections from it. I mean, I remember doing that when I first started, and I was driving all over hell, and I'm like, I got to do it for the 5 minutes. But I also sucked. I don't think really. I mean, when you look back on your time now, like saying how you killed it and all that stuff, you're probably gonna be like in a couple years, you're gonna be like, oh, I mean, okay, actually, I wasn't even that good, but you just don't know where you're gonna be at in 2 years,
right?
And you don't think that. I never thought I'd be doing this well. I mean, I still don't think that. I look back at my time. Yeah, I think I have time, which I do.
Well, like every year you look back at like last year's thing. Like even Bird talks about that when he would progress through and then watch old sets, and he'd want to fucking vomit just watching how he used to be. As a
I don't want to watch my set last night.
Nobody wanted to watch your set last night.
I felt bad for everybody there. And then Paul was like, dude, no one knew you sucked till you said you sucked. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure everybody felt it. It was depressing. And yeah, it was I don't know, man. What were we talking about?
Mentorship, hitting the road early in your career.
Oh yeah, going on the road. I was doing that in the beginning, and I really wasn't getting anything out of it just because I wasn't that good. And then I realized like I could just stay towards home and get the same amount of time. And that's the big thing I keep trying to tell like you or people trying to move away right away. I'm like, dude, Michigan has so much time to offer.
They do in a non-COVID world.
Yeah, no, I still think they're offering more. I'm getting booked more during COVID, but I think compared to most states, like I think they're pretty open.
Well, Cleveland's wide open.
Oh, if Cleveland's wide open, yeah, go down there. I wouldn't move to fucking Cleveland.
No, but that I don't plan on relocating I don't think I'll ever leave the middle of the country, just for one main reason. I think Bob Costas said it. Because he was doing like football announcing so many times. It's like, and he lived in St. Louis. Like, why don't you move to like New York or LA? He's like, I'm no longer than 3 hours away from anywhere in the country.
Yeah. See, that's Marcus's thing on it too. He's like, we're talking about moving to Austin. He's like, well, we can move into the middle. We'll be 2 hours away from Austin, 2 hours away from Dallas. I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to do that. I've already driven too much.
Well, Austin's in the middle of the country essentially as well, you know what I mean? So it's like Austin would be a good hotbed because again, it's the same premise. There's no further as long as you're not leaving the country, there's no flight longer than 3 hours you're ever gonna have to get on. 3 hours would be the longest flight you'd have to get on.
That's true. I mean, I could go to Vegas. You could go to Vegas, Dallas.
Yeah, Vegas is 3 hours,
LA.
3.5 hours from here.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, I'm just saying, if you're new, I think it's all about the time and just understanding yourself on stage. I don't think you need to be in New York. The only benefit of moving to like New York or LA right away is you're kind of killing two birds
all day, every day.
Well, you're also kind of killing two birds with one stone because you're going there, so you're already making the connections that you need to make when you go there in like 5 years, and so you're just starting from square one. It's a good thing and it's also a bad thing because you don't get as much time in New York as easy as you can here. I think it's all about the time.
Oh yeah, my first set 7 minutes. My second set was 10 minutes. It's like,
what do you mean?
Like ever. Like my first set I ever did, I had to do 7 minutes, and then the second set, which was a few days after that, I was offered because my first set went okay was a 10-minute set. Like, can you do 10? Like, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, and you're not going to get that in New York. In New York,
Yeah.
you're going to get 2 to 5 minutes max.
Right.
If you find a 7-minute spot or like those 10 minutes, those are like
Right.
hidden gems.
And you're probably going to have to pay to get on that show.
Yeah. So, I mean, in my mind, I think it is, if you can become comfortable on stage, really get some good jokes wrote out, get that sense of confidence in Michigan, that's what I think I would do. And then go and put the work in. Because now when you go up on a stage in New York or LA, people see you and they're like, okay, I get it. You're about this. Come do this. Come do that. Come do this. But if you go at the beginning, I mean, you're just going to get to know people more. They're going to get to know you through the stages. So I don't know if it's a benefit. Is it? I don't know.
I think it's good to start out in a small market, but also I think Detroit isn't as small of a market as people talk about it like it is.
I think it's a big hub.
Yeah, it's got a big
good
comedy scene.
we have a good scene.
Yeah.
And
like the whole lower part of Michigan, like from Grand Rapids all the way to like Detroit, there's comedy shows everywhere throughout that area.
It's spread out. I mean, we have I don't know how many comedians, but I mean, we have a pretty decent scene. I know New York's bigger, but like I would put us like right next to Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago, Cleveland,
but Chicago
Detroit.
has like some clubs. I mean, we have Mark Ridley's.
Yeah.
So I would probably put Chicago and Detroit close. They say Chicago's the better one, but
just because the city's better itself, you know. But
I like Detroit. I think Detroit's. I like the grittiness of Detroit.
Right.
But I mean, also there's the pamperedness of Detroit. If you get into that pampered scene.
Yeah, which is something this is something I talked to about Lewis, which is really funny because it's Lewis, but is bringing back hostility to comedy. I think that's something that's missing in a lot of scenes, and I think diamonds come out from pressure. You know what I mean? You can't like grow if you're not constantly ripping down certain things. And
exactly.
You need that hostility in comedy, I think.
Well, it's just it's just the PC movement,
Yeah.
but I think it's getting broke down again.
It is.
I think people are just they finally have been like, okay, this is kind of boring now.
I want to thank cell phones for that personally, because like there was like the Believe All Women movement, and then all the cell phone footage of how racist and awful white women are in general has been coming out over the last couple of years, and it's like, oh, they're people too that make mistakes. Oh, I never knew that before.
Yeah. And I think people are just sick of it. I think comedians are sick of it. And also the top comedians that are out there right now are the people who aren't backing down.
Chappelle's Sticks and Stones and Bill Burr's Paper Tiger were so huge for, I think, comedy in general.
Yeah, but also like the podcasts, I think, are Bad Friend, Andrew Santino, Bobby Lee, Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, Andrew Schultz. They're not holding back, and they're still being comedians.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people are forgetting with comedians is that we're comedians. So we're supposed to
talk about the awful shit going on that you're not supposed to talk about.
Yeah, we're supposed to talk about all of that.
Right.
We're observers, and we're trying to make it funny. Now, if we don't make it funny, that's on us, and we'll try to make it funny next time. But also, it's like, when you're watching comedy, what are you expecting us to do? You just want to hear about somebody's life? Like,
there's a group of them that wants you to go up there and just fucking virtue signal for 25 minutes.
It's fucking boring.
Which is like, I want to shoot all of you. Like, I'd never believed in mass shootings until you go and sit through like a 20-minute virtue signal set. Then it's like, oh, I see it now. I get it.
Yeah, I don't know why. Because when comedy first started, you know what? When comedy first started, it was kind of like what it is now. It was PC. People were like just telling popsicles stick jokes. You know, they were telling it was clean. And they're like, why did the chicken cross the road? Literally. And it's like, because, you know, and then fucking people come along like Richard Pryor, and then they break down a barrier. And
Pryor
like,
and Carlin.
Eddie Murphy.
And
you know, and they're like, oh, you can say this shit on stage? Yeah, you can. And you know what? If you don't like it, don't fucking listen to it.
And even before Pryor, I mean, you had Red Fox, who just changed his whole persona, and then fucking Dolomite with Rudy Ray Moore and shit like that.
I never watched Dolomite. I watched the movie, the remake with Eddie Murphy.
I've got like satellite radio in like my Jeep, so like Kevin Hart's channel puts on a lot of old shit from back in the day. So it's really cool to hear these old specials from like the late 60s and 70s.
Yeah, but did you and you see like Richard Pryor? They're funny.
Yeah, always funny. Always funny.
You know what's not funny? Being woke. You know?
Yeah.
That's not fun. It's actually annoying. Like, I don't even know how woke people can go through the day with how woke they are.
I honestly, I want to open up like an anti-woke PC room right next to the wokest
That would be
room
so bad.
ever. Like,
But yeah.
like we had talked about this to where like you'd have to have like a giant black dude working the door with like a slide, and you'd have to say the N-word just to even get into the club to that guy, just to know like, oh, you'll say fucking anything on stage. And then he'll get mad, and then we'll be like, aha. But I don't know. I think it would be fun to have like a very anti-fucking.
I'm not saying it.
And it'd be a different offensive word every fucking week to get into the place for a comic.
Yeah, maybe it's what it needs.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what we need. I just I also can't get over the fact, like, I'm not going up to these people that are saying these bad jokes, these terrible woke jokes that aren't funny. I'm not going up to them and saying, hey, maybe try to be funny. I'm just not talking to you. I'm just not associating with it. And they're like, did you see my set? No, I didn't see your set. Did you do something funny today?
Is that what you were doing up there?
And again, I'm not saying that I'm the funniest comic out there. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying those people come up to me and they're like, dude, you can't say it. Dude, you can't do this. Dude, what are you doing? What, dude? I'm like, I don't even talk to you about your fucking set. If you don't like my shit, get the fuck out of the room.
Right.
But I must be doing something right because you're watching. So what the fuck is the problem here?
Right. Well, it's like Saturday, because everybody loves Pistachio. He's a fucking maniac. Like,
yeah.
I mean, and he has the balls to go up there and just do, his set all the time. But he changed his whole set Saturday. It was almost no nut jokes. It was actually not that bad of a set at all.
It was just the pussy jokes, right?
No, he actually had I haven't heard most of the shit he did.
Oh,
it was interesting.
Was this the room where he said pussy a lot to the women?
No. This was this last Saturday.
Oh, okay.
And then I guess I had left because I was with my wife. We did like a date night. That's why we went and like checked out the show and everything. And he messaged me later that like one of like the woke kids came up and told him his set fucking sucked. And it's just, mind you, it was a kid that didn't even go on stage. And it's just like,
those are the worst.
Like,
people.
who the fuck are you? Like, who are you? Like, people were laughing, but because you didn't find it funny, it fucking sucked, and it hurts your little world. Like,
but again, yeah, those people didn't have to sit in there and watch the show.
Yeah,
but they did.
Mm-hmm. Which is why they had a drop, and I guess I was recommended for a fill-in, but the people running the show knew that if those people were in the crowd and I was put on stage, I was probably going to rip them apart and go at them.
Wait, so you already have problems?
I have problems for associating with certain people.
Oh my God.
That and my general disdain for woke culture in general.
And
as you mentioned earlier, my oozing standoffishness when I don't like somebody that's around me.
I've always been part of this, the group. This has always been our group in comedy. I'm always part of the group. We got you in the group now, Lou, and we used to have a thing called the Degenerates of Comedy, or it was called Money Team, and then it was Degenerates of Comedy. And it was just, four kids that were kind of hated with one that's loved. Marcus is the one that's loved in our group, if you didn't know. Marcus is the one who gets booked. And it's funny because he associates with me, which I might be holding him back. I hope I'm not. I'm sorry, Marcus.
I don't know how to talk to you about like your comedy without sounding like a dick sucker. I
like it.
I truly enjoy your comedy. Like every time you go on stage, outside of last night when I almost threw up, like I always enjoy listening to your sets.
Thanks.
And it's because like you're like you're a step on like that ladder I'm trying to hit when it comes to how you work a room, because I enjoy that style, and that's like a similar style I'm striving to be with, like, you know what I mean? But that's mainly because of like the comics I like in general. Like, yeah. Patrice O'Neal's my favorite comic of all time, and he's the king of fucking hurting your feelings and ripping a room apart. Like, he's not known as a nice comic, but he's one of the most respected comics in the community of all time because of his not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
And his ability to do that.
Is that what you're saying? I'm going to be the most respected comic.
I think
And then I'm gonna get diabetes and die.
At 44, as soon as you start getting really famous, you're gonna die.
Yeah. So by 80, I'll be dead. Yeah. It's like you're still doing comedy,
right?
At 80, yeah.
Because I enjoy the shit out of it.
Thank you.
I do. I really do.
That makes me feel good. I needed that today. I woke up today.
But I always tell everybody, it's like, don't fucking tell Justin. But I think he might be the most underrated comic I've seen on like my brief time on the circuit and hitting as many rooms as I have. And I'm like, just don't tell him.
It's told now. You hear that? You hear that, Detroit? Man, yeah, it makes me feel good. I mean,
and by the way, that's something that is said by not just me, but by many of the comics when you're not around.
See, why doesn't anybody? Do you guys not hear me on stage? I'm very depressed. I need this shit.
Yeah, but the thing is, Justin, you're gonna be all Justin about it and be like, you love me and dumb shit like that, and then ugh.
See, so people, and then that's the funny thing is because I'm like, man, I'm hated, but then I go up to the people that I think hate me, and they're like, no, man, you're like, we love you,
right?
And it's like, well, why don't you guys express that instead of saying how much you don't like and
if
how you
I
don't
didn't
book
like
me.
you, I wouldn't.
No, I'm not saying
you.
I'm just saying other. No, I'm just saying other people. Other people. I think maybe I'm too sensitive with it, but it's the way like people don't. The people when they make jokes to me, they're not in like a funny way.
Mm.
Sorry if that's not. I mean, it's just like they're just like, yeah, you suck. So it's like, oh wait. Are you joking or like are you not joking?
So it's like having a conversation with you then, like in general.
Yeah. But eventually, no, yeah, I'll eventually say sorry or I'll smile. These people are just like they just go into it. There's never like a breathing moment. There's certain people that just try too hard.
Mm.
They just don't ever have a conversation. And I'm not saying that we're all not, it's like, I know we're all comedians, but it's like, holy fuck, can we turn it off? Turn it off. Just be a person. And it's the only way these introverted kids know how to fucking talk is like try to say a shitty joke.
Right.
Or tell me that
they won't
I'm
let
not
it
funny.
just come naturally to.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, you don't have to try. It's like, we're out here.
I think part of it though is being uncomfortable and then slightly intimidated, like being a newer comic, and now you're hanging out with guys that actually do real comedy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I know. I feel that. I feel it with some kids, and I'm like, you don't have to try.
Yeah,
please don't.
I mean, I was referring to Marcus, but yeah, yourself as well.
Yeah,
but
I knew you were talking about Marcus. No one talks about me, dude. I sit in the corner, and that's why I can turn it off because no one talks to me.
But because I personally feel like that way when I'm around like veteran comics I haven't met before. I feel really uncomfortable, and there's moments where I'm just like, insert joke that could have been funny, but I was so not confident in what I just said because I'm nervous about who I'm talking to.
And that's why I turn it off because if I can't be like funnier or anything, I'm just like I'm not gonna try. I'm not gonna insert myself.
Yeah.
A lot of Detroit legend comics I can't get in a conversation with those guys. They're just too funny. They're fucking hilarious. And like sometimes I will, but then when I say it's like, Justin, you're just white. You don't get this. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I'll shut up now. Yeah,
But no, being able to like be self-aware that that's a thing, like that's the biggest thing is realize you're doing that. Because then you're just like, all right, I can just sit back and relax, and if something pops up that nobody's mentioned, it's like, hey,
yeah.
Blah.
But
like,
also, and I've realized too, I'll have to turn it on because I'll just walk outside, and then someone has to come at me.
What?
Then I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing it out here. Okay, now I'm gonna be mean to you.
Right.
And they're like, well, why are you so mean? It's like, well, you just fucking made a joke to me.
Right.
Don't say something to me.
That's one thing that bugs the shit out of me in general is people that say something to insult you, and then you come back and like, oh, this person's better at insulting than I am, and then they get hurt about it.
Thank you.
Like, go fuck yourself.
It's so confusing. It's so confusing, and they're like, you're
like that fat fucking bimbo at Dooley's that I got in trouble for, and now I have a leash on when I'm doing certain shows.
Oh yeah,
because
thank you.
she went at me for being fat, and I remembered and went up right afterwards when she got off stage and eviscerated her as a human being for doing that, especially your first time ever coming out.
Which is skills to do because she's fucking so fat.
Yeah.
To eviscerate all of her? Oh my god.
It was a lot of ground to cover. And then to be like ridiculed by certain people because I did that, to the point to where I was like, damn, I felt bad about it.
Yes.
And then I was just like within the last week, like after that show at Clawson where I went at those 3 fucking blonde bimbos that were sitting in the front and ruining the show.
Yeah, way to ruin it. They were the only crowd.
They fucking deserved every piece of that.
Yeah, but
here's the thing: you couldn't hear them.
I did
when they were coming back at me.
I got it. I understood what you were doing. I knew what was happening because I could tell by your anger.
It felt great.
I know it did.
It felt great.
I saw you.
Because I went back and re-listened to the audio, and I was like, "Oh, I should have went harder. Like, fuck these bitches."
You did go hard. You went
doesn't
so
help
hard.
when you're sitting like behind them and pointing like, "Murder, kill them all."
I did because I was like, "Oh, this is funny."
I felt like I was on like the '70s Raiders, and you were John Madden, just like, "Hey, go out there and eye gouge if the ref's not looking."
Yeah, it was fun because I can encourage it, and it wasn't me doing it. So it's fun to watch you like burn yourself to the ground. It was fun in that moment. I was like, I hope maybe I'll learn something from it, and I hope you did. But yeah, when you're fucking doing it, we're enjoying it. I mean, they were cute. I wish I would have got to tell jokes to them.
Now here's the other benefit.
But you saved me from doing it to myself.
That's the thing. I was just like, when Paul or somebody cut me, and I was just like, oh, okay. And then I was talking to him outside. I was like, you know damn well in 2 spots, if I didn't do that, Essenmacher was going to go up there and be way fucking meaner than I was. Probably.
No, I don't know if I would have called him a cunt and a whore.
I didn't call him a cunt. I said whore. But I said whore after I got cut.
Oh, you didn't say cunt?
No.
Okay.
No.
It felt like you did.
Because I thought, oh, I said whore, and that's why I got the light and said get off stage. But I re-listened to it, and I had already gotten the light and told to get off stage before I went to the whore escalation. So then it was just like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to throw more napalm on this and fuck these bitches. And they walked. You know what? They deserved to walk. They were rude. They were talking over the comic, and with how that place is set up and where they were sitting, it's impossible to hear anything if they're louder than the comic. And they're not self-aware.
Yeah, no.
And the benefit of being married and in the stand-up circuit is I don't have to worry about fucking these women ever.
I know, and that's really a bad thing for this animal over here. You need to be caged a little bit, or it needs to be more precise chaos, more precision with where you put your whores and stuff. Especially there's certain women that you can't call whore. That was like a team. That was a team, and you went in for it. That's like when you go to... You ever been to the bar and you go hit on a woman and she's like, oh, you better treat all of my friends? And it's like, okay, fuck you. That's what you went into, man. You went into an ambush. And you called the one girl a whore, and you called the girl you called a whore was the leader of the pack.
Yeah, exactly. I went for the jugular.
She was taking them away.
Mm-hmm.
Those other girls didn't have backbone to be like, we're staying. No. She's like, we're fucking going.
Yeah.
And I never liked those women. And
I've hated those type of women my whole life.
I get it. I'm in the same boat. I can't say you did anything wrong, but I was there. I'm on your side. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was on your side, and it was gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I think last Friday though, like we were talking about just like being able to turn it off and be comfortable and just have a regular conversation.
Yes.
Last Friday after that same mic was exactly that. Like the right people were there. The circle was made of the right people, and we were able to actually talk about shit and still mix it insults. But it was like nothing was forced, and it was honestly one of my favorite nights I've had on the scene so far. Is like that little bullshit hang with all of us after Friday.
Yeah, there can be fun because when you have comics that are just talking, like our thought processes are different, and you don't need to force out a joke. It's eventually just gonna happen. But sometimes, like, you just sit in the circle and there's people just thinking of a joke to eventually insert.
And they're not listening to anything you're saying.
No, and then they just come in and they're like, hey. And then my favorite one is when no one hears it, but everybody hears it, but they don't acknowledge it and then they re-say it and you're like, oh, bud.
I think everybody's done that at least once in their life.
It.
Yeah.
I did it last night when, like, Ron came out, which I'm friends with, like, you know, it was Ron Taylor and Josh Adams. They were there. 2 of the biggest comics in Michigan. And I walked over to Ron and Josh, and Ron lives in L.A., And I'm friends with him, and I walked over to I wanted to talk to him, but he was in a conversation, and I felt like a little scared kid. And I'm friends with him.
Mm.
But I was like, wanted to talk, but I was like, he's in a conversation, and I just stood out like a weird kid, and I just eventually just turned away. I'm not going to insert myself into this conversation. But there's only one way to break into conversations. And it's hard
to
to
slowly walk up and just morph into the circle and just pretend you've been there the whole time.
Kind of. I think I have a pretty good skill at talking to people.
Right.
But like you said, like people either love me or hate me. And when I was first starting and way to get into groups, it's really hard, especially for comics because they're so introverted. Most comics are like these introverted kids who don't have friends. And those people don't know how to talk to people. So when there's a group of people and they're new, they just stand there and look weird. And then it makes everybody else feel awkward. And you're like, yeah, dude, can we help you? And like, I'm sorry, I'm new. I just want to be your friend. And sometimes you let them in, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's just too awkward.
But see, you make the mistake, like there's a certain person who shall not be named who I opened up a door to be like, hey.
Yeah.
And then when he got in the door, he shit on everything. And it was a bad, like, diarrhea one. And now it's just like, I hate you as a human being forever now. Like, I can't. And this person has done the same with everybody they've encountered.
Well, yeah, those are the people that they're just gonna fizzle out. Yeah. I think some new people don't realize we are people. Yes, we're assholes. Yes, and that's really hard for us to make friends because we're such assholes. And we're like, are you going to say something or are you just going to be fucking weird? And we're going to say that to that person.
Right.
And then when you say that to that person, they're going to be like, well, I'm sad now. And they're going to walk home and they're never going to come back and do comedy.
Or they're not self-aware at all. This person is not self-aware at all.
And that's just not a fun time.
No.
And they're just sitting there waiting to insert. And then when they do, it's in the middle of the conversation. And they're like, hey, guys.
And it has nothing to do with the conversation. It's like, how can I bring this more about me back to something that I'm in the spotlight? And you just want to be like, man, I'd love to run you over with a van.
Yeah.
And I have the van.
And but I mean, a big thing with me too, I do talk about comedy a lot. I have to be in a certain mood. This is fine talking about it now. But after an open mic, during the open mic, asking me about jokes, what should I do here? What should I do this? I was like, oh.
I have no idea.
I'm just like, I don't want to. I'm just like, dude, I don't want to. First of all, I don't want to be here at the open mic, really.
Right.
I have to wait another fucking 2 hours. I don't want to talk to you about your jokes that I don't give a fuck about. And can we talk about something else?
Right.
And that happens a lot. And I think it happens with newer comics. They're excited. I get it. But I'm like, I don't fucking want to talk about this. You got some weed? I don't know. There's a point to that. But I think there's too much talk of it sometimes.
Right.
And it's every night. That's it. And it's like, we can talk about some other stuff. Let's talk about another topic. Bring something up.
Right. Well, we have 5 minutes before we have to skedaddle here. So I think...
Why?
I got to pick up my kid at 3.
Oh, okay. Real quick before you go, did you work on your roast jokes for tonight? I wanted to talk about that. I've been thinking about this for the last 2 hours.
I've been the thing is, when I told you those jokes yesterday, I already hated them.
I know you did. I saw your face, and you're like, I don't want to tell you these jokes. You guys didn't want to tell me any of your jokes because you guys didn't like any of them.
No, but the thing is, too, I don't even know how to say that without sounding douchey, but I do better in the moment when I'm riffing.
Yeah, see, now
and I don't know this person personally, which makes it even harder, is almost everybody I'm going against tomorrow. It's going to have to all be observational anyways because I don't know them.
Can I tell you this? I had that problem, too. I have that problem. I've said that thing, too, before. I've said that. It's not a good thing to have, especially for this. I know what you're doing. It's probably not... I hope it's a good roast battle. I hope it's set up professionally. But I've been to... Son of a bitch.
You're good.
I was trying to make it so it stayed up. Oh, okay. It fell right off. Anyway, Fucking. It's okay. No, so dude, being in the moment makes sense. I know it's a different kind of energy, but if you have that preparedness in the roast battle,
Yes.
you are going to dominate because that person, you know what, is probably gonna have the same thing.
Exactly.
Write it. I think you should. I really think you would get something out of it. And then if you're prepared,
Well,
it's going to be better in the energy.
When I did Kaz's roast and I was roast master, I had tons of shit written because I knew to some extent every single person that was there. And everybody told me that went really, really well. And I probably did 20 to 30 minutes throughout the night of straight roasting.
Bro, you're driving 3 hours for 3 jokes.
Yeah.
And you're just
hold on. We didn't tell you the format either. The format is it's 3 jokes against 3 jokes. It's not like a set amount of time, which is weird.
Wait.
So like I'll tell a joke and then they're telling a joke, and
but
then
it's about
I
each
tell
other,
a
right?
joke.
It's
It's a roast. But
yeah, that's how a roast battle goes.
well, I thought it was gonna be like, hey, you get 30 seconds, and then they get 30 seconds, and then
No.
you get 30 seconds.
That's a
to
different
go
style.
back.
That would be like a second rounder thing. That's what New York does.
Yeah, like so. I was just like, but I have like a bunch of other jokes written. I just don't know how they're gonna go.
Dude, a little benefit of it, you have a rebuttal. If you have rebuttals, now you have 6 jokes you get to say.
Yeah, but it's also, I think it's easier to be on the defensive when you're roasting. So whereas they go first, and now, especially if their joke doesn't hit that well, now I can just make fun of how shitty of a comedian you are in general.
That's fucking lame.
That's what you do all the fucking time.
I know. It's fucking lame. I didn't say I was good at it. I never said I was good, man. It's the easy joke. It's a low-hanging fruit one.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like when someone is trying so hard and they put all their effort into it, it's easy to break them down and be like, oh, you thought that was going to hurt me? Like, that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
That could be your rebuttal, but then your joke better be better than theirs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they're going to say something about you and you have a rebuttal, that's another joke. Then you get to say your joke. So they're already laughing, and then they're going to laugh even harder. Who is your person? Who are you going against?
Her name's Brianna Blackburn.
First of all, you're going against a woman. I hope you lose, because this will be the greatest thing ever.
I'm going against a black woman.
You might lose.
That's a lesbian.
Yeah, you're definitely going to lose.
I heard she's really nice, which is like, huh? And the other issue, too, is like everybody on that, like there's like Lewis, like everybody I know is on the complete other side of the bracket. So I wouldn't even see them unless we both made it to like the
So you're
end.
not going to see them.
Right.
Roasted. But the thing is, now what's going to happen, dude, I've realized with roast battles, it's who has the biggest balls to actually say the mean shit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can make it funny. Because there's a lot of things where you feel bad. You're just like, I don't feel like saying it. But if you can
I
say
don't feel that way about anything.
Oh, well, then you're fucking good. You should win. You're going against a black woman who's a lesbian?
And fat. She looks like Faison Love if he like was transgender.
See, I don't know who Faison Love is.
See, and that's why I can't say that joke. I was going to say
Exactly.
Warren Sapp, but then I don't know if there's any football fans.
See?
And then I was going to say, like, I don't know, she looks like she's going to be in the next... see, I already fucked it up.
See?
I was like, oh, you're
welcome.
You're gonna be Eddie Murphy's stunt double in the next Nutty Professor movie.
That's better.
Right.
There you go. So one rebuttal, I guarantee this. You go, thank you, Nutty Professor.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, woman who played Nutty Professor. Something like that. I know that wasn't good either.
Right.
But you get it?
Mm-hmm. Or I was gonna say, you look like you're played by Tyler Perry.
That's a great joke.
See, like there's things there.
You look like you're the off-brand of Medea's. You look like you're ready for Medea's Halloween or something. Are you acting in Medea's Halloween? I don't know.
Yes, but all right. This has been fun.
This has been great.
This
Thanks
has
for
been a lot
me.
of fun, actually. That was an hour and 40 minutes of
Wow.
podcasting that just flew right by.
It did actually fly by. Do you want me to plug? Can I plug my
yeah,
stuff?
plug your shit, man.
For your 3 fans?
Yeah, get in there.
You can check me out on Instagram at Justin Essenmacher. My name, Justin Essenmacher. And also I do a podcast, which is we release a podcast every Tuesday with my boy Marcus Olin. It's called Real Open Mics of Hollywood. We just have a good fun hangout session. We talk about what's going on in our lives and the world. And yeah, check it out. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming out, Justin. This was a lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun. Good
Oh,
luck at your roast battle. I hope you don't become this lady's bitch.
Yeah, she's rough, so I hope I don't either. Like, they say being a lesbian's not a choice, and by looking at her, obviously, it's not.
It's not. She was born that way.
All right. Have a good time. All right. We'll see you guys again whenever I feel like making another podcast. You